you, Ziva. Our next speaker is Farshad. He grew up in Iran, and when he was just 19 years old, moved to the U.S. He completed his undergraduate work at Clarkson University in mechanical engineering, physics, and mathematics. He is currently a PhD student here at UC-Berkeley. Farshad will talk about his journey to the U.S. from Iran. Please welcome.
Hello everyone. I would like to share with you a personal story. Since the Baha'i faith began in the mid-19th century, Iranian Baha'is have had to endure oppression and frequent persecution. After the Islamic Revolution of 1979, the persecutions against the Baha'i religious community increased dramatically. About 200 Baha'is have been executed. The authorities deny us higher education, our jobs, and confiscate our properties, and through propaganda try to convince Iranians that we are unclean and less than human. My family experienced some of these persecutions firsthand. My story illustrates the difficulties that Baha'is and members of some other ethnic minorities are facing in Iran. Since the establishment of the Islamic Republic, applications to education, employment, or official documents have included the requirement to indicate one's religion. It is a subtle but effective means to bar access by Baha'is to basic rights of Iranian citizenship. Its impact on my family was immediate. My grandfather, who had worked in the steel mill in Isfahan for more than 15 years, was required to either deny his faith or leave his job. My grandfather, a very steadfast Baha'i, lost his job and along with it his pension benefits. My parents faced similar obstacles. My mother was in her third year in nursing school when the revolution took place. She was compelled to quit school. My father, who had just graduated from high school with very good grades, was denied higher education because of his beliefs. The only option Baha'is had in that climate was to go into private business or leave the country. My father started a car repair shop, and my parents were able to survive only through their hard physical labor. When I entered school, Baha'is were officially permitted an education through high school, but this didn't mean our faith was tolerated. We Baha'is would not participate in Muslim prayers or religious ceremonies, and these were mandatory part of everyday school life. When I was in elementary school, my mother came to school to explain to the principal and my teacher that as a Baha'i, I could not participate in these religious observances. After my mother left, my teacher told me, "We don't like you here." From then on, I was required to answer questions and take tests in front of the class every day instead of once a week like other students. When I couldn't answer a question, my teacher beat me once. He slapped me so hard that my nose bled. I was very afraid of him, but also afraid to tell my parents what was happening. And so I struggled through elementary school. When I began middle school, I asked my mother not to mention our faith to the new principal. I was afraid of again going through what I had to deal with in elementary school. When the religious observations were held, I either escaped the building. If I couldn't leave, I would hide in the classroom. I managed to pull this off and finish middle school to enter high school. The admission form required me to indicate my religion. With red pen, I boldly wrote Baha'i. When the principal saw this, he informed my father that they would not accept me in their school. I would be a danger and a corrupting influence to other students. My parents appealed to the Department of Education and were able to obtain a letter requiring the high school principal to let me attend. Even so, it was at a price. Once each week, I had to go to the principal and defend my choice to be a Baha'i. He would try to convince me that this is a very bad religion, even though he was ignorant of his belief, and would urge me to convert to Islam. This constant pressure and distraction made it very hard for me to concentrate on my studies, but I managed to finish high school, thanking God that I had stayed steadfast in my faith. I knew the road to higher education would be closed for me, so I worked for my father in his shop and studied music under a private tutor. I had heard about Isfahan's famous young musicians competition and thought that doing well in it might enable me to attend a music university. I practiced my reed flute 3 to 4 hours almost every day for 5 months and managed to win first place in the competition. Even with this achievement though, I was not allowed to enroll in a music university. Obviously I had no future in Iran, and so I decided I would have to leave the country. I discussed it with my parents, and after a year they agreed to come with me. I still had a very big problem to face. I did not have a passport, and as a Baha'i could not get one. I could obtain one only by serving 2 years in the military, so I decided to leave Iran illegally. Several other Baha'i youth from my city were planning to attempt to leave the country, and I decided to go with them. I was 18 and the youngest one of the 6. We went to a city located near the Iranian-Turkish border. There we contacted a man who said he would help us, and for a price he would take us across the border into Turkey. That afternoon we started our journey. We walked for about 10 hours in the mountains and entered Turkey without being seen. In Turkey, unfortunately, we were caught by the Turkish army. After about 3 days of questioning, they decided to deport us. We were taken near the border, shown the direction back to Iran, and told to walk. It was close to sunrise when we started. After we had walked for about 2 days without food or water, we were exhausted and decided to go to any place we found. During the 3rd day, we saw that we thought was a house on the top of the nearby mountain. We believed we had reached an Iranian village, and we were very happy. When we got near, though, we discovered that it was an Iranian military camp. The Iranian border police quickly spotted us and took us into custody. We were told that we had been lucky. We learned that we had been walking near a minefield the whole time, and it was a miracle that we'd survived. The Iranian police held us for about a week. After many beatings and integrations, they were satisfied that we weren't political enemies, just foolish kids trying to escape to obtain religious freedom and education, and put us in jail. They were actually already knew everything about us. Our helper, it turned out, was a professional informant. From jail, we were finally able to contact our family, who had not had a word from us for 2 weeks. Our families were able to arrange a court hearing, were judged to find us. He released us with the warning that if we were ever caught trying to leave again, he would sentence each one of us to 10 to 20 years. During the following year, my father was badly injured in an accident when he was crossing the road. The court found the vehicle driver at fault, but because we were Baha'is, they did not award us any money, not even for medical expenses. My unsuccessful attempt to get out of Iran had cost most of my family's savings. Putting my dreams aside, I took on the work in my father's auto repair shop. My father slowly recovered after eye surgery. After eye surgery and several months of recovery, he returned to work, but I could see that it was very hard for him. He no longer had the strength he had before the accident. If my family were to survive, it would be up to me to support them. But now, how could I do this with no job option and no chance for an education? I was very scared to try to leave Iran again, but I realized that I had to face it. Seeing my parents struggle to support the family, I decided to try one more time. I had to take that risk for my family. This time I would go alone. My family went with me to arrange for a different person to aid my escape across the border. My parents paid him, but stayed in his home until they learned that I safely reached Turkey. I told the man that if I got caught again, I would be in prison for a long time. This time my smuggler proved to be trustworthy. He took me via a safer route, and we walked for 3 nights. I reached Turkey without any problem and went immediately to a United Nations regional office for assistance. I had to remain near the Iranian border until I was granted permission to go to Istanbul and meet with the representatives of International Catholic Migration Commission, ICMC, who would help me. There I had to wait again. I was not permitted to work and didn't have much money. Sometimes I did not have anything to eat, but tolerated because I knew the difficulties would be over soon. My parents, who had passports, sold everything and arrived in Turkey about 6 months after me, moving to a city near Istanbul. Finally, after about a year of waiting, I was granted refugee status and permitted to come to the United States. My parents and my sister stayed behind and waited for their turn. When I arrived to the US, I knew hardly any English. The refugee center in Utica, New York helped me to find a job and enroll in ESL classes at Mohawk Valley Community College. I went to school full-time and also worked full-time so I could help my family when they arrived. I did not get much sleep, but I knew that my family and I would have a much better future here in the United States. All my life I have had to struggle against barriers and hardships in my quest for an education and the chance for a better life for myself and my family. I believe the difficulties I had to go through made me a stronger person, and that my experiences have given me an intimate understanding of human suffering. I have gone through so much myself. I'm determined to work hard to reach a position in which I will be able to help other people who face the kinds of hardship in their lives that I had to face. 8 years ago, I was told I had no future beyond my father's auto repair shop. Thanks to the opportunities given to me in the United States, I am now a graduate student at one of the best research institutions in the world. Perhaps in a spirit of defiance against my homeland's current ideology, I want to demonstrate in my life that when individuals can reach for their full potential, all humankind is benefited, and when barred, all are injured. In a small way, maybe my life can help open a few of the closed doors that block so many. Thank you.